guys, in this video we'll be looking at the anatomy and physiology of eye. So first we're talking a little bit about the external anatomy of the eye. You have your eyelids and then you have your lacrimal gland. All those topics I'll talk more in detail when I cover the pathology of those parts. So we'll go straight into the anatomy of the eyeball. So before the starting off with the anatomy of the eyeball, I'll just mention a little bit about the extraocular muscles. So you already know there are six extraocular muscles: the superior rectus, inferior rectus, medial rectus, lateral rectus, inferior oblique, and superior oblique. So the only mnemonic which you need to remember for this are SO4, LR6. Everything else is supplied by oculomotor nerve or the third cranial nerve. So superior oblique is supplied by the fourth nerve, which is trochlear nerve. LR6 lateral rectus by the abductor nerve. Everything else is supplied by the oculomotor nerve. Moving on to the anatomy of the eyeball. So there are three coats which you are supposed to know. The outermost coat is the sclera. Then beneath that you have the choroid, and finally you have the retina. So this outermost coat is known as sclera. So the part of sclera in front of the lens is known as cornea. It has a special name, cornea. So beneath the cornea and sclera, you have the choroid, this thin layer going over here. That is your choroid. And then inner to that, you have your retina. So one more thing is above the cornea, you have something known as conjunctiva. Conjunctiva is like a covering over the cornea and sclera. It uh, is richly supplied by blood vessels. So it's split into bulbar and palpebral conjunctiva. So those are small things which you need to know. Then this is the lens. Then this is the ciliary body. Uh, this is the choroid. The whole thing together is known as the uveal tract. So what else? And you have the optic nerve coming out over here. So that would be all. There are some important parts on the retina which are not marked on this um, diagram. So there's something known as macula. It's where most the concentration of cones are present, or cones for color vision, then rods for night vision, and just sensitivity to light. So macula is very important. This fovea centralis is also known as blind spot. It's just a notch in the retina present over there. You can't perceive anything, any image which is formed on that spot. So this canal of Schlemm. Before that, the eyeball is split into the anterior chamber and the posterior chamber. So the anterior chamber is filled with aqueous humor, and the posterior chamber is filled with vitreous humor. So the thing separating these two would be your lens. So lens is the centermost part of the eyeball. Everything in front of that is the anterior chamber, and behind that is the posterior chamber. Now the anterior chamber is again split into the anterior segment and posterior segment. So what is going to split it is your iris, or your iris. So everything behind the iris in front of the lens is posterior segment of anterior chamber. Everything behind the cornea in front of iris is anterior segment of anterior chamber. So it's very important when we talk about glaucoma. We'll talk more in detail about this. So this very important diagram over here, this canal of Schlemm plays a very important role in glaucoma. And in this diagram, I want you to look at this. So these are all the various layers of the cornea, which I've drawn over here. So it has 5 layers. The first layer is the corneal epithelium, followed by the Bowman's layer, and there's a thick stroma present. Then there's a Duas layer or pre-Descendens membrane, Descendens membrane, and endothelium. So corneal endothelium cells are very sensitive, and there are many steps taken during cataract surgery, like using visco to preserve the integrity of these endothelial cells. Once these endothelial cells are lost, your cornea will start experiencing degenerative changes, and eventually you will lose your vision. So the cornea is transparent. There are many reasons for this. The most important one is the peculiar arrangement of the corneal lamellae. They are arranged in latticed arrangement, and there are two theories behind this. You just need to know the name of the theories: Morris theory and Goldman theory. So that is the most important point when it comes to the transparency of cornea. Followed by that, you have small points like avascularity, relative state of dehydration due to metabolic pumps and osmotic pumps, and finally higher difference between refractive index of cornea and air. So all these factors contribute towards the transparency of the cornea. So moving on to the lens, this is very important because cataract surgery is something which you need to know on your fingertips when it comes to third year MBBS. So going from anterior to posterior parts of the lens are your anterior capsule, your cortex, your adult nucleus, your infantile nucleus, your fetal nucleus, and your embryonic nucleus. So if you have all of those in your head, it's will be really useful. Finally, the layers of retina are one of the most favorite questions and most irritating questions because there's a lot to remember. There are totally 9 layers as you can see. The first one being the pigment layer, photoreceptor layer, outer limiting, outer nuclear, outer plexiform, inner plexiform, ganglion cell layer, nerve fiber. If anyone has any kind of mnemonic to remember this, please do comment. It will be really useful. Even I need to find some way to remember this better. So those are the things which you need to know with respect to anatomy. Yeah, the small thing. Okay, you see the space over here. This is known as the peribulbar space, and it's used to give peribulbar block before cataract surgery. Just a fun fact: all the nerves to the eye enter via this and enter via this space and split two different parts of the eyeball. So if you block these nerves, you can provide anesthesia, pain relief to the patient. So finally, I would like to talk about this visual fields and visual field effects. So vision pathway. So what happens is each eye uh, corresponds to two parts of vision: your nasal vision and your temporal vision. So you have like amalgamation of those visions together, and you have one complete image form. That's why you are able to see about 120-degree vision. So this diagram is pretty self-explanatory if you look at it. I would just like to go through the pathway for you guys. So first of all, light falls on the retina, then it's taken by the optic nerve to the optic chiasm, and then from the optic chiasm it goes to the optic tract to the lateral geniculate nucleus, and via optic radiations it goes to the upper and lower calcarine fissures or the visual cortex. So this is the normal pathway. There's an extra part which you need to know in this. There's something called Edinger-Westphal nucleus. So Edinger-Westphal nucleus is important because there are interconnections. So when it comes to your light reflex, like your direct and indirect light reflex, when you put light on one pupil, both the pupils constrict. That's only because of this Edinger-Westphal nucleus interconnection. So that's very important when it comes to visual pathway. And this diagram shows you the different lesions and what type of visual field effect they'll have. Again, something which you need to just remember. So they might even ask this question as an essay. Just to prevent any copyright issues, I've taken this photo from MedBullets Step 1 preparation. So it might be there. You can go check it out. They have really good resources. If you want to use them, you can use them. So that will be all for this video. Thank you.